Just go somewhere else. I can't take this nonsense anymore. How are you going to blame the defense?
I got the power. Screw Green Bean. Damn it.
But once you get to the sausage, I feel like we're doing something.
Go Jets.
And that's the other part of this, is people are insanely jealous of this show. This show gets the best of the best, and it does a different way, with positivity.
He scores!
Ow, my head! No, come on.
What would you give up to see a Jets Super Bowl?
All of my friends and family.
Hit those milk thumbs, boys and girls.
Freeze frame.
Hold on to your underwear, ladies, and stand by, bitches. It's now time for Talkin' Jets with your hosts, Matt, Ryan, and Green Bean.
Boys and girls, welcome to Talkin' Jets. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am joined alongside my co-pilots. I've got Green Bean to my this way. I've got Mr. Matt O'Leary to my that way. Green Bean, how you doing tonight?
I got Taylor Ham on the mind there, Ryan. I'm in a good mood. I feel like we're doing the right things, and I love seeing Jets Nation fandom helping the cause. I'm feeling positive. Can't wait to cut it up with you guys.
O'Leary, how you doing tonight?
What a day. One of those where were you when type of days on Jets Twitter. Mike Williams is a New York Jet. We have a lot to get into today, and I am excited about it.
I love it. Boys and girls, if you're just hopping in here, make sure you hit that like button. For every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to send a t-shirt qualifier over to the spin wheel. We are very excited to do that. At the end of the stream, someone's going to win a shirt, jersey, mug, hat, something kind of giveaway at the end of this show. And to double enter yourself, we are also streaming to Twitter. So if you want to retweet the stream over there, that will get you involved in the giveaway as well. Not a whole lot you have to do. Just hang out with us, hang out in the chat. For every 25 likes, Nightbot's going to pick a random person from the chat. So you just have to hang out with us, and it's all good in the hood. Boys and girls, the New York Jets have a new wide receiver. 1 year, up to $15 million. The New York Jets sign Mike Williams, top receiver on the free agent market right now, formerly of the LA Chargers. Green Bean, I'm going to throw it to you first. What are your thoughts on the Jets' new addition at wide receiver?
Well, first off, like I said a few minutes ago, I have Taylor Ham on the mind, and that's because NYJ Matt, one of our finest out there in Jets fandom, sent Taylor Ham, egg, and cheese to the facility for Mike Williams. I'm blown away, but he ate it. And he liked it, dude. So he goes, ooh, I like that. So remember, like, people from around the country, they don't know what the hell Taylor Ham or pork roll for the others out there. And he liked it. And so that's a positive. I like that Tyron Smith was at the facility to kind of greet Mike Williams when he came today. There seems to be like kind of a new influx of positive energy into the facility. New guys, big name guys. Now they have injury concerns, so there's that. But like you said, I do believe he's among the top wide receivers out there on the free agent market. I really like adding him. His injury was week 3 of the 2023 season. So, that gives you the idea that by training camp, he's going to be fine and ready to go. And he's coming in here as the number 2 to Garrett Wilson. I don't think we're done at the offensive weapon, whether it's through the draft or maybe another free agent signing. I don't think we're done adding weapons. So we're not going to be looking to this guy to save us or, to be the focal point. We just want somebody that's talented, that has an NFL resume to back up, and support Garrett Wilson, give Aaron Rodgers, another, viable, realistic option that we know is talented. I think it's a great move. Now, somebody already said, I got one DM that said, 15 million, that's too much. We did the same thing with Kinlaw. We did the same thing with Tyron Smith. You look at those contracts, they're a little bit different than maybe we thought initially. Let's see what it looks like. Again, it's the same thing, up to 15 million. Well, great. They're probably doing a similar thing with, playing time incentives and things like that. Now, I hope he makes it through the season. there's concern, of course, but I don't know how you can't be excited about adding a guy of this caliber to the team. And I think we're rolling, man. We're rolling toward the draft with all sorts of flexibility. And I think it's a great move, man. I'm excited, Ryan.
O'Leary, how you feeling about Mike Williams?
I am feeling excited about Mike Williams. I think he is a high-end number 2 receiver. He's had a couple 1,000-yard seasons in his career. He had a 10-touchdown season under his belt. And what I like is I think he's a good complement to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's more of the get him the ball in space and just watch him do, crazy acrobatic things over the middle of the field, where Mike Williams is a deep threat, number 1, and he's also a big target in the red zone where he's going to go up and get the football. He was, I believe, 6th in the league in contested catches in 2022, his last healthy season. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about him coming off the ACL, but he's normally someone who plays. He gets banged up, so who knows, maybe he plays 15 games or something like that this year. But, as Green Bean mentioned earlier, the Jets are not done adding on the offensive side of the football. And I like the addition. I think he was probably the best guy on the market once he became available.
Yeah, I love this signing. This is a good one. Up to $15 million, so we'll wait and see, like Green Bean said, what the contract ends up being. Tyron Smith's contract was awesome. I think it was like $6 million guaranteed, and then just incentives if you play every game. And I would love to see that be the case for Mike Williams, because if he plays every game, I have no problem spending $15 million on a number 2 receiver opposite Garrett Wilson. I think this is a home run type signing. Obviously, the injuries give you pause for concern. It doesn't eliminate the idea of going wide receiver or weapon at the top of the draft, just like Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses don't eliminate offensive linemen at the top of the draft, but at least gives you the flexibility to go best player available, or potentially think about trading down, accumulating more picks, maybe getting that second-round pick that we traded away just last year for Aaron Rodgers. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Jets ultimately handle that. We got a few super chats in the chat section. Brian Bogan says, new players, new unis, who you buying first? First one for me is going to be Jermaine Johnson, green jersey. Green Bean, what about you?
That's a good one. I want to just I'm applauding because I think that's a good pull, Ryan. I appreciate and respect that choice. I think I gotta go with a Breece Hall jersey. And I agree, green. I think I've shared with you guys on this show. I have 2 whites. I can't wear my Quinnen because he signed it and everybody got mad at me. But I do have a sauce, and I spilt coffee on it. And I got it out for the most part, but I'm in danger, dude. I am a sloppy mess. And green is going to work better for Green Bean. But I think Breece Hall is the jersey I get in the new legacy full-time jerseys, man.
Matt, what about you? First jersey.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson switching to the number 5 in the new greens, I think, is the direction that I'm going to go. Garrett Wilson's my favorite on the team right now. And I have the 17 jersey, but I want to represent 1, the new look jersey, which is going to be awesome, and then 2, in his new number. So I think that's going to be my first selection.
Alan Dodes comes in and says, all hail the Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. Yes, that is exactly what made him sign. If they wrote pork roll, egg, and cheese, he'd be off to the Steelers. He'd be off to Carolina. This is clearly the right decision by NYJ Matt. Gangrene 44 dropped in with 10 spots, says, toasting JD with Fiddlehead IPA. Sorry, words are hard right now. Love Fiddlehead. Yeah. Trade back if possible and grab both a tackle and a wide receiver. They can learn from our vets and be ready to play late this year or next year. So I guess let's go around there. Let's talk about the idea of doing a trade down. Matt, in an ideal situation, if the Jets were to move down, how far back would you like them to go, and who would a player be? What player would a team be coming up to get? Because I feel like that's important. If there's not a quarterback there, it might be a little tougher to slide back down. Where do you think you would be comfortable trading down to?
Maybe like 17, the furthest back. And I really like the idea of Troy Fontenot. The more I've watched him over the last few weeks, and with the Jets building up this offensive line and wide receiver core through free agency the last little bit here, I am absolutely comfortable sliding back and then using the first rounder on an offensive lineman, second rounder on a wide receiver like Ricky Pearsall or Roman Wilson. I think that would be my preferred option. Now, you could do the reverse and move down and draft a wide receiver and then go offensive line in the second round, but I think I like the offensive lineman towards the top, and I think the receivers have a little bit more depth into the second round, so I'd rather go that route. But yeah, I think trade down is going to be the favorite option at the moment. You bring up a good point though, because what's a team going to trade up for? Don't know. Don't know. I think Joe Douglas is probably going to want to move back, but might have some trouble because I think there's going to be 4 quarterbacks going off the board in the top 4, unfortunately.
That's exactly where I'm thinking as well. Because if the Giants might take JJ McCarthy and the Chargers are willing to trade out, but also Denver and the Raiders also want a quarterback, that would mean the favorite to trade up, the Vikings, need to get up to number 4 in order to have, their guaranteed shot of getting one of the top 4 guys. So I do think we're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks off the board. And if not, it's probably because the Cardinals would not trade out to any other team. And then, you wind up seeing the same amount of quarterbacks, and Marvin Harrison Jr. probably go in the top part of the draft here. Green Bean, your thoughts on trading down. What would a team be trading up for, and how far back would you feel comfortable going?
Well, I still think that if if a quarterback makes it to 10, one of the guys, a JJ McCarthy or a Penix, you could see teams wanting to jump up, right? But I also think a sneaky position just might be edge rusher, right? So there's probably going to be one taken in the top 10, Atlanta. It's very realistic that that's the direction that they go. But here's the thing with that. They might take a guy, like, look at it, in 2022 when the Texans took Stingley, right? And then Sauce was still there. So teams are going to have, different ratings on these players. So the guy that Atlanta takes, another team might still see their top edge rusher on the board at 10. And if they can throw a third or whatever it might be to go up there and get that player that they think is going to be able to come in and make that immediate impact, I could see it too. It's, like Matt said, it's, it's not a guarantee, guys. It's not like, why didn't he trade back? There's got to be a deal and something better than, hey, we'll give you a 4th in 2025 or something like that. There has to be a realistic deal that's going to benefit us this year. But I could see edge rusher being the position that someone trades up for, as well as quarterback.
And how far back would you be comfortable going, I guess, would be the next thing. The other position I could also argue, too, would be potentially cornerback. If you can have someone come up for one of the top cornerbacks. Now, I think Indianapolis is the first one that I'm kind of consistently mocking a corner to. But if someone wanted to come all the way up from the 20s and we're willing to maybe not rake them over the coals because we want the 2nd round pick or something along those lines, I think that's possible. But I don't know if we want to fall back that far. So how far back would you feel comfortable moving, Green Bean?
I would be willing to go if we can get a 2nd and some change even, but a 2nd at minimum, I'd be willing to go back to the 17 to 19 range. I would. I think there's going to be a guy like the one that Matt mentioned, Fantanu. I like to, what, it feels better to say Fantanu to me.
That's what I've been doing, and people are getting mad at me in the comment section.
Yeah, everybody's so mad at us. I like it. It's the inflection. It feels better with the accent being on Fantanu as
the wrong syllable.
Yeah. So forgive us. We'll get it like we did with Izzy Abanikanda. It took us a second. Everybody's like, a busy Abanikanda. It takes a second. But I really like that idea. But I think a guy like him, because look, you still have, after, the Alts, Fashanus, Fuangas of the world, you still got the Lathams, Mims, Fantanu, baby. You still have those guys in the tackle realm. You have Brian Johnson Jr., I'm sorry, Brian Thomas. Brian Johnson's a singer of AC/DC, by the way. Brian Thomas, yeah, for those about to rock. But Brian Thomas, yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. Those types of guys are probably going to be there because there will be a run, like you said, cornerback, the top 10, no cornerbacks are taken, one edge rusher. There's going to be all sorts of clamoring for those types of positions as well. So I could see if you get back into 17 that one of your guys is still going to be there that you would consider taking at 10. You pull in that second and you're able to still get a guy that you feel really good about adding to the roster. So I'd be willing to go back, that far and kind of, and recoup that extra pick that we are lacking in this draft because it's just so incredibly strong. And so if you took like a Fatanu or a Latham or whoever, or a Brian Thomas Jr., you could still get into the second. If you go with offensive line, you can still, the Ricky Pearsalls, the Xavier Leggett's and Worthies, they're going to be there most likely. And then if you go wide receiver, there's plenty of offensive tackles that are going to be there, interior offensive linemen that you like. So I feel like we can really help our team, now that we're not in that desperate mold that we were just a week ago with either attack. We had no wide receiver 2. We had no offensive line. Joe Douglas has done a pretty good job of giving us that flexibility to do that. If you can recoup the second, I say do it.
Troy Flatnow, just so you guys know, I believe his offensive line coach from college is the OC for the Seahawks now. So I could see them possibly being a landing spot at 16. The Eagles at pick 22 or 23, they have 2 second-round picks and 2 third-round picks. If they want to come up for a corner, I feel like that little bit of a connection might be helpful with Joe Douglas. But we'll see. We'll see where we end up. Bearded V-Tier and Jet Engine. What's up, brother? Good to see you on here. Both becoming members of the channel. I should have hit the OnlyFans Milk Thumbs button. Where's my OnlyFans button? Bam. Sorry. This is what happens when I have too much stuff going on the computer. Shouldn't have hit the OnlyFans button. There we go. Oops.
Yeah.
My bad.
A bit
Hype comes in.
That's all right.
Hype says we need Ricky Pearsall, Malik Washington as wide receivers. Hopefully 4th round for Malik Washington would be awesome. Jet Engine says, holy shit, this is big. Still need a slot guy, though. Xavier Gibson is a nice story, but he's not that guy. Trade down, get a second, and let's fucking go. Jet Engine, we are in complete agreement. Proud New York Jets fan says, let Green Bean read this.
Where is it?
It's on the screen.
Wait, hold on. Because all right, I'm looking at the YouTube. Hold on, me. Hold on. I'm sorry. Let Green Bean read this. Yeah, I love pork roll. Hey, look, dude. Let me just tell you, you Southern Jersey hick. I'm
wrong.
okay with calling it pork roll. It's
I'm
fine.
not. No.
But I know, but I'm gonna continue to call it Taylor Ham because I like being right.
Sneakers Moods comes in.
Dude, I felt so excluded as a Long Islander today. I was like tweeting about it because it said on the receipt Taylor egg and cheese, and people were like,
That's right.
"It's a pork roll." I'm like, I'm from Long Island. I don't give a fuck what you call it. I'm getting a bacon, egg, and cheese anyway. I'm not getting Taylor Ham.
We had Green Bean and I started jabbing Blew It, if I'm not mistaken. I know I started hitting him. I think I tag teamed him. Just like,
as
sorry,
soon
Blew
as
It,
I
you're wrong.
saw that, right, it was like TEC. I said, notice that T is not a P.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? So
he tried to spin it as the pork roll, and I was like, I don't think it works like that.
yeah, the pork roll. But in fairness, Morristown is in North Jersey. Morristown's all Taylor Ham. That's Taylor Ham territory over there.
100%.
You know, Ryan. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Taylor Ham. Morristown might as well be called Taylor Ham Town. So, hey, Matt, have you had one yet? I forget. We've asked you this before, but have you had a Taylor Ham egg and cheese?
No, I'm gonna have to find some. Like, if we could find a gluten-free roll, I will gladly
we'll
find it.
There's a few places by me that do gluten-free. If we're doing a meetup or something, I'll bring you a Taylor Ham egg and cheese on a gluten-free bagel.
I am open. I am
Are
absolutely.
you a bagel guy or a roll guy?
Either.
Okay.
I'll do it either.
Well, if we're having a meetup, we happen to be having a meetup in the near future, Ryan.
I don't know if they make Taylor ham, egg, and cheeses for when the draft starts, but I love the idea of it. We could totally do it. And you know what? We should probably, before we hop over to Sneakers to Boots comment, let me just hide that for just a second. We should totally talk about our draft party. TalkinJets.com if you want to get your tickets for the first night of the NFL draft. Never before this offseason has it felt so up in the air as far as who we're taking at that number 10 overall pick. O'Leary, if you would be so kind as to pin the website to the live chat so our lovely watchers can head right over if they'd like to do that. Limited space, but we're very excited to do it. We're having a lot of fun. 3-hour open bar buffet, going to be a really, really good time. Tons of raffles. We got ticket giveaways and stuff like that. Jersey giveaways, all this good fun stuff. Green Bean, you excited to come up for the draft party?
Let me tell you, man, I sincerely can't wait. And now that I know all we got to do is find a gluten-free roll and we get to watch and be present for Matt O'Leary's first taste of Taylor ham, I'm even more excited. It's, dude, I was just talking about it today with somebody. Like, as we inch closer, I'm getting legitimately excited to get up there and hang out with you guys. We know guys like Hennessy and Crossfire are going to be there, finally showing their faces to everybody. So it's crazy because obviously there's us, and then you got Jeremy coming, unfortunately. But so there's that stuff. We have some special guests, but I got to admit, I'm equally excited to meet some of the guys who've been in the chat with us for a long time, for years. And it's going to be such a cool event. And I feel like there's legitimate excitement. Remember last year going into the draft, we were I don't know if we were tired, beat down. It just didn't feel the same. We did add Aaron Rodgers prior to the draft, but like Lazard and Cobb and, and Wes Schweitzer, it was just kind of right? It was a lackluster free agency, and we just kind of went into the draft, and they followed suit and drafted Mike McDonald, or again
Will McDonald, Old McDonald, yeah. Will McDonald, Mike McDonald,
Mike McDonald. So but I mean, I think this year there's legitimate reason to be excited. Like, I'm feeling it. I feel significantly different than I did last year. I feel closer to 2022 and 2021 going into those drafts, even though both years we had 2 firsts, which is obviously a reason to be, excited. I feel that sense of excitement this year. I like the flexibility. I prefer the flexibility over obviously we got to go tackle. We need, we don't have a starter, so to speak. So I'm really looking forward to coming up, driving 7 hours, fighting DC and Baltimore traffic to get to you guys. It's like Vanessa Carlton. I would walk 1,000 miles. Like, that's how I feel. I just want to be with you guys. I'm willing to do anything.
Bean, Taylor had a question for you. Are you turning around and driving right back home to get on the stream the next day? Like, she was like, what is Bean going to do? She was very concerned with the rest of your weekend.
No, I appreciate that concern. I'm probably going to stay the entirety of the draft, which ends on Saturday. So after Saturday night, I'll probably, get a good night's sleep and then head home 6 a.m. on Sunday. That's kind of how I'll do it. Cause I have, that's my home base. I have all kinds of people up there. I can stay in Staten Island. I can stay in Brick. I can stay in Clifton. I got all kinds of spots. So I'm definitely going to hang for most likely all 3 days of the draft, and then I'll head home.
I love it. Boys and girls, get your tickets pinned in the live chat. Just click on the link, talkinjets.com. Sneakers to Boots coming in. Where's my little comment section? Bam! Says, options finally wide open. First time in a while, teams didn't know what we were drafting. Wish we tagged and traded Huff to use to trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr. Matt, did you see this? Daniel Jeremiah had the Jets selecting Marvin Harrison Jr. in a trade up and only giving up a 2025 second round pick as far as I read it. What were your thoughts on that? That was obviously before the Mike Williams signing.
I don't think Mike Williams stops you from going up and getting Marvin Harrison Jr. if you really wanted to. It's going to cost you more than a second. I don't think someone's moving back 5 spots for a second round pick in 2025. So that is definitely a layer that I think would have to be like they'd have to add more, whether it's draft capital this year or if it's a first next year, like whatever it would have to be to get that done. I think it would be a little bit different, but I'm not going to lie to you. I think the idea of Marvin Harrison Jr. On a rookie contract on this team with Garrett Wilson is pretty exciting.
Hennessy comes in and says, we have a legit number 2 now, and who cares what he's making? If we can win it all, would we still say, but we shouldn't have overpaid for X player? Green Bean, you upset with the contract at all?
Well, we don't know what the contract is, Hennessy, but let me say this. I agree. You know, I was just talking about it with Jake. You know, the truth is I think we as fans get jammed up in the numbers, and it's really not our concern. Let Joe Douglas and his nerds figure that out. You know, like, you know, grab the nerd brigade and go, how can I make this work? And they push their glasses up and they get the and they figure it out. And we just want players. Figure it out and get us players so we can compete on a realistic level with the best teams in the NFL. Once that's accomplished, I don't care about the numbers. Woody's money is not of my concern. Joe Douglas's cap is not of my concern. We'll talk about it, of course, but, you know, just like we did with Tyron Smith and 𝐿 𝐾𝐿, and oh my God, it's $5 more than I wanted. I'm pissed off. Like, just, I'm at the point, I don't care. I just want to win some games. We happen to have a Hall of Fame quarterback. We happen to have a top 3 defense and pretty damn good special teams. In addition to that, we happen to have some electric and high-level contributors on offense, namely Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, you know, and even some, you know, you can add Conklin, Rucker to that mix, but Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are elite level offensive weapons. So let's just round this bitch out and go and compete and punch some teams in the face. I want to see bloody noses all season. So if it's a few more bucks than maybe I would have done, I don't care. I'm right with you, Hennessy. Just get the players.
𝐿𝐾𝐿 comes in and says, so hard right now. He says he went from 6 to midnight. Good moves. Now draft guys to be successors to the vets they bring in. At this point, I can't hate if they pick a weapon or offensive line. They could really go any different direction here. Michael Du Bois says, if we can trade back and get a second, I think the move is Tony Fautanu, Amarius Mims, around pick 18, and then round 2, you take the Georgia wide receiver, Ladd McConkey. I would absolutely love that. I would say Troy Fautanu has his offensive line coach as the OC in Seattle. So that would be the one spot I could see him possibly going before that selection. And then Amarius Mims, I'm on board with. I like that route. And if you can get me a second round pick, I'm there all damn day. J-Boy seems to say, we got wide receiver 2. Offensive line is okay. Got to be Brock Bowers at number 10. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say. Matt, you want to do a poll question? We could do should the Jets take Brock Bowers at number 10? Do a yes, no, just like flat out. Don't give him the option, trade down.
Sure, yeah, that one usually goes over well.
Oh yeah, it's always a good
okay,
poll.
Okay, I gotta end the poll you originally did first. So end that poll. It was trade down was 49%, the winner on that one, by the way. Okay,
that makes sense. I feel like all of us are probably feeling the same way. Blitz Crew comes in and says, see that video Mike Williams eating a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich? Would love if we could trade back to 18 or better, get Font now. He would greatly limit our season being ruined by offensive line injuries. Yeah, I don't want to say I took Fashanu off my board, but like I love the idea of adding someone that has guard tackle flexibility, and Font now is like the most common one. He's always compared to AVT in that regard. I would also pencil in Latham and Talise Funga as well as 2 guys that could kick inside if you needed to for a year. So I'd be fine with either one of those guys. And then depending on how far down you trade, Amarius Mims would be an attractive future selection. Green Bean, where you stand on like an offensive line selection in the first round? Do you want someone that has that hybrid flexibility that could give you some insurance for AVT and Tyron Smith? Do you think we should go with just the best overall tackle, even if it doesn't provide insurance for like an AVT? Where's your mind at with that?
Well, you know what? Like I totally respect and appreciate that mindset coming from the weapon contingent of Jets fans, that it's like, you can't use the 10th overall pick on a guy who's likely to sit, right? I get that, and I'm with that. But I also want to factor in the fact that we haven't had a starting offensive line start for 16, 17 games in a long time, everybody. So it's more of a guarantee, hey, hopefully not. But I still am a big fan of adding the tackle. You said Fashanu is kind of off your board. I'm not quite there yet. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think I really got to say I'm kind of at this point right now, I'm really okay if the Jets decide to slide back a little bit, recoup some capital, and then take, whatever, a tackle or a wide receiver, or if Bowers slides a little bit more, like if we go to 13 and he's still there, that's all fine to me. If we're going to stay at 10 and they just decide, hey, we've had such offensive line problems, and we feel like in round 3, we can absolutely add a wide receiver 3 or 4 that's going to contribute, then I'm fine with that too. Like I really feel okay. If it was me, I'm really trying to slide back a few spots. I have to admit that's that's what I would like to see, and then kind of see where the chips fall. But I feel like we're likely to go weapon and then wait until, like, if we're able to recoup a second or whatever, second or third, I feel like we'll get a developmental tackle there, somebody with a lot of upside, and just kind of have him sit behind a Tyron Smith or a Morgan Moses for, 6, 8, 10, 13 games. And if he needs to come in, we can do it that way. Or if Carter Warren is ahead of him, we can do that. I don't know if Max Mitchell is going to be on the team. If we do that, though, I don't know if Max Mitchell is going to make it through it, even if we keep 10 offensive linemen. Anyway, I'm kind of okay with anything, Ryan, truly, and that's a great place to be.
Yeah, and you know what? I think offensive line, having that flexibility is important. I do tend to lean weapon at number 10 just for that reason of not wanting to have a top 10 pick sitting on the bench when you could, possibly upgrade another area. I don't know, but I'm curious to see where Matt's head is on this. Are you triggered more towards like guard, like tackle, or would you go, just the tackle for the positional, importance?
Like I wouldn't take Fashanu off my board because he can't play guard. If that's like kind of how it's being phrased, like if that's who they like the best, then I think that's who they should take. It would be kind of cool in a way for a Fuaga or a Fontenelle because of their flexibility, that like they could be the next man up at either a guard spot or a tackle spot if someone gets hurt. And as Green Bean said, like someone is going to get hurt. We haven't seen a full season out of Tyron Smith since 2015. So I don't think there's a world where a backup offensive lineman doesn't come into play at least a couple of games. Hopefully not a huge amount. But at the same time, like if you just want to load up and get your weapons and continue to try to go for it in this Aaron Rodgers window and do it that way, like I'm not going to be upset with that either. Like the only thing that I'm going to be upset with is if they go something on the defensive side of the ball. You can go wide receiver, you could go Brock Bowers, you can go offensive line, or you could trade down. Any of those 4 for me are more than okay, and I think you can make really good cases for literally any one of those options.
Wildwave comes in and says, JD making a lot of smart decisions, good flexibility, glad they got rid of the middleman. If you're going all in, trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. Interesting. Fans are really fired up about the Daniel Jeremiah trade up. Sawyer says Bowers at 10 probably won't happen or anywhere in the top 10. His contract as a top 10 pick would put him in the top 4 to 5 contracts for a tight end in the league. So the bonus of cheap tight end goes away. Sawyer, I don't know if you know how much tight ends make, but Brock Bowers' selection at number 10 would be roughly what Garrett Wilson's contract was at number 10. Garrett Wilson's contracts, $3.7 million cap hit, $4.6 million cap hit, $5.6 million cap hit, $6.5 million cap hit for the last 4 years, or for 4 years before his fifth-year options. Fifth-year option is obviously the average of the top players at his position, but it's the average of the top 10 players at his position. So right there alone cannot be in the top 4 to 5 contracts, let alone $3 million for a tight end would put him somewhere around 20th in terms of highest paid tight ends. So I appreciate the super chat, but I think you're mistaken on value of contract there. That's all right, though. Terry comes in. Terry says, any quarterback that falls, we should trade up for? Question mark. Matt, is there any quarterback that you would be interested in now that the Jets have kind of solidified the offensive line? If there was, let's say, a trade back, we pick up a second. Is there anything that would convince you to come up for a quarterback at all, given Aaron Rodgers' age?
No. I don't think there's one that's going to be there that really moves the needle for me. I think, as I said earlier in the show, I think 4 quarterbacks are going to go right at the top, with J.J. McCarthy being a top 4 pick, which I think is kind of wild, but I think that's how it's going to end up going. I think either the Giants move up or the Minnesota Vikings, one of those 2 teams, jump up and try to grab him. Nobody really after that moves the needle. Bo Nix doesn't really do it for me. Michael Penix has, the injury concern, and he's already a little bit older. I probably like him better than Bo Nix, but I think you stick with the plan and either go with an offensive lineman or a weapon. I wouldn't draft a quarterback this year.
We got Card Cave Central coming in and says, LOL, did you see the Jets' new profile picture? Yes, I did, and here it is. It is the Taylor ham, egg, and cheese, and it is on a roll. Interesting. I'm a big bagel guy. I would probably get it on a bagel over a roll, but that's okay. I'm splitting hairs here. It's Taylor ham, egg, and cheese.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, I like the bagel too, but the traditional way to do it, especially if you go to a diner. If you go to a diner, it's Taylor ham, egg, and cheese on a hard roll, which is so crazy because I don't see hard rolls anywhere but New Jersey diners. It's a weird thing, But I think it's soft, Ryan. Going on a bagel, admittedly, when you eat it on a bagel, which I love, the Taylor ham squirts out of the back. It's a whole weird sloppy thing.
I love the substance of it. Like, I don't feel full when I eat a roll. A bagel's like, I'm full.
But think about introduction to the sandwich. Soft, you know what I mean? All contained. You want somebody to kind of have a positive experience and then move up to the bagel. That's how I see it. You got to start with the hard roll.
So, pro tip, you can leave the sandwich inside the tin foil and have half it out, and none of it falls out. The more you know. King Lowski comes in with his member super chat. Thank you. Says, stay away from Bowers. Let's unlock our weapons. We already have. Brees needs to be unleashed. Go offensive tackle in the first round or trade down. JETS, baby. My concern with not adding another home run threat, whether it be wide receiver or, tight end, is God forbid we lose one of the star 2, one of Garrett, one of Brees. I think it makes things incredibly difficult. Now, I guess the argument is offensive line. If you were to lose Garrett, at least you just put all your chips into Brees and you just say, hey, go. Matt, any thoughts on, maybe not going with a weapon at the top of the draft because of maybe our offensive line durability issues?
I was going to say, you could just flip it the other way then if you want. And yours is a valid argument, by the way. I'm not saying that it's, invalid to say, well, what if there's an injury to to one of the Jets' top playmakers, then they're going to be in trouble. And you're not wrong. But then at the same time, you could do the same thing with the offensive line. If there's an injury there, then what are the Jets going to do in that spot? So I think it's dependent on what depth you feel more comfortable with. And, it's going to be a boring cop-out answer, but I think you can make a strong case for either. And I think Jet fans should learn to accept that either one of those possibilities are going to be okay. You could build a really good plan going with either one of those choices. It's not going to be this catastrophic mistake if the Jets take an offensive lineman in the first round, or a catastrophic mistake if they take a weapon in the first round. There's there's a method to the madness on both sides. So I wouldn't really, work myself up over the Jets taking an offensive lineman, especially after all the injuries they've had at the position over the last few years.
Holy cannoli, Ablab, drop it in. With 100 spot. Holy cannoli. Dude, Ablab, you are the absolute man. He says we still need wide receiver and offensive tackle in the draft. Seems like this clears a space for a developmental quarterback too. JD is slick with it. And yes, Matt, next year's quarterback prospects are mid. Be a futurist for Christ's sake, LOL. So Ablab, I do understand this. And when I did my live stream earlier, we started talking a little bit about the quarterback situation. And does this allow for an interesting, option? Like, what if the Jets decided to pull the trigger on like a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix at some point in the draft early on, and they said, hey, we're going to sit this guy, this 5-year, contract behind Rodgers for a few years. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about it because I really want to go all in. Like, I could care less about tomorrow and want the now right now. But I understand the thought process. And Penix, to me, I feel like even with the injuries is just, if he didn't have the injuries, I think he'd be a lock for the top 10, like top 5 probably. I really like Michael Penix Jr. If you could convince me to trade down, pick up a second, and maybe pull the trigger on a Penix like late 1, I could get on board with that. I don't know if maybe Denver and the Raiders' need for quarterback pushes both Bo Nix and Penix towards the top end of the draft, and they may not be available after pick 13 anyway. Green Bean, where do you fall on Nix and Penix in particular as far as prospects, and where do you think they go in the draft? Like, Denver doesn't have a second-round pick. They need a quarterback. Seemingly no one available at this point with Fields already gone. The Raiders, could they make a move to try and get a Jaden Daniels? I mean, I guess it's possible, but they are seemingly looking for a quarterback as well. They have Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew over there.
Yeah, well, let me say I agree with you about Michael Penix. He's actually my favorite quarterback in this draft class. But like you said, with the injuries and the 12 years in college to try to show everybody that he can do it, I don't think I would draft him, especially in the first round. And I like him the best. I think that he's got the highest potential to actually make it in the NFL, or at least among the quarterbacks with the highest potential. I still think a team's going to take him. You pointed out Denver. I think that's a good landing spot for him. I would be surprised to see someone, in the top 10, while Daniels is on the board, still on the board or what have you. I just don't see it. But I agree with what Ablab said about we still need a wide receiver and tackle in the draft. But I also agree that we should use probably a 4th, maybe our first 4th, to grab a quarterback. I think, obviously the name is Jordan Travis that a lot of people like. And I think that's a great move. I think it's a high upside kind of a thing. Players of his talent level aren't necessarily sitting there in the 4th. Often he might go earlier than that, but if he's sitting there when we pick in the 4th, I would not be surprised in the least to see the Jets pull the trigger and just bring in that 3rd quarterback to sit behind Tyrod Taylor and Aaron Rodgers. Not a bad couple of fellas to sit behind and and learn from. So yeah, man, I feel like it's gonna happen. If it's a 4th, better. If it's somebody like like me and Dom talk about it every week in the Monday Night Mock or the 10 o'clock mock, 𝐻'𝐿'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I'I' vomit in my mouth every time Dom says it. But I do understand, like if you're sitting there in the seventh, and he's sitting there, and you want to take a flyer on him, I guess that's fine too. But yeah, anyway, I think that we'll probably see a fourth round pick used on a quarterback. And I'll have no problem with it. I mean, I like the idea of bringing a guy in with high upside to just kind of sit and groom without the stress of having to come in and be our starter, which is something we haven't done in a while. I mean, we did take what's his name, James Morgan, with no real intent to start. Such a bad pick. I hated it from the word go. That was the school I told you. My wife went to FIU. We went down there and played and watched football. Let me tell you, dude, you're at a college football game, and the energy about it felt like a high school football game. It was like, yeah, there's a bunch of scrubs out here. And it's fine. Go ahead, play your ball. But it felt like a high school game and looked like it. And then we go and draft a quarterback. It's like, I don't know, man. It made no sense to me. But Jordan Travis would make significantly more sense for me.
Matt, what about you? Where would you think about start taking a quarterback? And does anything that's happened over the last week change your opinion on that?
No, nothing that's happened changed my opinion on it. But I think if the Jets trade back, I would say the 3rd round, if not the 4th round, because I think your first 2 picks need to be in whatever order you want them to be. A wide receiver and an offensive lineman. And then after that, you could start getting into some other areas. So if they trade back and they have a 1st and a 2nd, and they go offensive lineman and wide receiver in whatever order, then the 3rd is the earliest for me. If they don't, then I would like them to go offensive line or weapon at 1, offensive line or weapon in round 3, and then in the 4th round, that's when they could start looking.
Yeah, Matt, I'm in alignment with you. And Green being mentioned 4th round as well. Jordan Travis, I like the idea of only having 2 quarterbacks on the roster and having the ability to IR Jordan Travis is kind of appealing to me. A few guys that could potentially slide back, but I'd love to get us a quarterback started on that path. I feel like 1st round is just a little too early for me here. But the next year's class is not supposed to be very good. Sanders might be the best quarterback in Ewers of the bunch, and I don't know if that's more of a Kenny Pickett type best quarterback year, and that doesn't feel great. But we're going all in for a quarterback anyway, so it doesn't matter. All in for a Super Bowl, not quarterback. Blitz Crew comes in, dropping 20 Talkin Jets memberships. Thank you so much for the memberships. Boys and girls, drop some JETS in the chat. For every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to pick a qualifier to our t-shirt, jersey, hat, mug, pillow giveaway at the end of this stream. All you got to do is hang around, stay in the live chat. We'll be picking random people throughout the night. And if you want to double your chances, all you have to do is retweet the stream. We are streaming this over to Twitter as well. Head over to the Talkin Jets Show or Talkin Jets Show on Twitter and retweet that stream. We will add you to the qualifier list for a jersey or a shirt or a pillow. Who knows? We shall see.
All right, mug. Get yourself a mug.
Yeah. Let's see. We said we're on Chris KV. After this move, how much would you guys be okay spending for Boyd? I still think he'd be a great add at the right price. I don't want to add Boyd anymore at this particular point in time. Green Bean, where do you stand on Tyler Boyd at this point?
Hey, man, bring him in, dude. You want to talk about flexibility? Hell yeah. Now we're talking. I love Tyler Boyd. I don't think it's real at this point. I think that's what you were alluding to, Ryan. I don't see it. Mike Williams, we were going to grab one kind of bigger fish, established guy at the wide receiver position. I think we're probably done there. I wouldn't be surprised to see, the next tier, maybe, a DJ Shark or a, Hunter Renfrew type. But I'd say the Tyler Boyd idea is probably gone. I would not be unhappy to see them bring him in, though. Look, dude, Brownlee is a great story. It's fantastic. Gibson's a great story. Wonderful. Go back to the practice squad, simmer for a little bit on the back burner, and let's get some firepower in here. Imagine that, having Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Tyler Boyd, and Malik Washington instead of, and then obviously Lazard, instead of, Gibson, Brownlee, Irv Charles, and Cobb. You know what I mean? Doesn't that feel a little bit better? Feels a little bit.
Little bit better. Hennessy comes in and says, it's nice teams don't know what position we're drafting. You damn right, Hennessy. Alan comes in and says, make sure Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwiches are on the buffet at the draft party. Trade down in the 1st. Take Yak God in the 2nd. Is Yak God, who is Yak God? Is there someone with that actual nickname?
No, yards after the catch, God.
No, I know that, but he says take Yak God in the second. Who's Yak God?
Malachi Corley.
Okay. Love it. I like Corley. I'd be down for that. Love the trade down too.
I like Corley. Like
Red John says, I hear Jets are interested in Treylon Burks. Do they want Allen Lazard for him? Because I don't really want Treylon Burks at this point. Not for like any sort of meaningful trade capital, at least. Matt, where do you stand on Treylon Burks?
No. I liked him coming out, but injuries and just hasn't translated, unfortunately, with the Tennessee Titans. I'm gonna pass unless it was like a 6th round pick, and I don't think he's going for that.
Edward Ziff says trade back twice.
Would you do Lazard for him straight up?
Oh yeah, I would just to get the contract off. Absolutely.
Edward Ziff comes in, says trade back twice in the first, get tons of high picks next year and a 2nd round this year, then finish our rest of our draft. So he's saying get a bunch of picks for next year and load up. I don't know if I see Douglas doing that and Salah doing that. I think they're going to want to spend as many assets as they can in a hot seat season, I would think. Mariano Granda, thank you so much for the super chat. I see the second one in here too. What about trading up to number 5 for Matarazzi, Marvin Harrison Jr.? Well, Daniel Jeremiah speculated a 2025 2nd round pick, which for those of you that know the draft and the draft value chart would mean that is equivalent to this year's 3rd round pick, which feels very far-fetched to actually happen. But if you could trade next year's 2nd and maybe another pick somewhere along the lines to get up at number 5, or maybe it's even a situation where, hey, the top 4 quarterbacks have gone off the board. The Chargers are like, man, we could really use a right tackle or something. You know, let's get some extra assets, and that's all they could really get. Then maybe there's, something to it. But I feel like they're going to sit and pick, and they're going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. themselves after just having let go of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. So as much as it sounds nice to trade up, I don't buy that that's possible, really, or likely. Green Bean, you think the Jets would trade up to number 5?
I think, well, you said it before. The kind of the fun theory out there right now is a 25 second. I don't think that's anywhere near enough to go up 5 spots to 5. So, I mean, if somebody said, hey, throw us next year's 2nd, would I do it? Sure. If Marvin Harrison's there, even Neighbors, I would love to add Neighbors. Or if Joe Walt is there, yeah, man. For a 2nd, sure. I don't see it. I think it's going to cost a lot more probably to do that. So I don't have any real interest in jumping up. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it, guys.
Knobcraft comes in and says, this year's free agency has been an exercise in quiet sanity. I was primed to lose my mind, and instead I've been pleasantly surprised. Kind of love it. We were, 12 hours? Not even. Into day 1 of free agency, and Jet fans were losing their ever-loving mind. Not even like any players had really been signed at that point, and then all of a sudden we start getting hit with those 11 o'clock signings at the tail end of day 1. Matt, you feeling a little bit more grounded after seeing Joe Douglas work his magic?
Yeah, I would say so. I think how the pieces began to fall, where it's been good so far. I think Jets fans were just a little bit worried because we saw people going off the board that we thought were good fits, and it was a quiet first couple days. And you're like, where is this pivot going to come from? And for me personally, like I guess I wasn't as high on Tyron Smith actually coming to join the Jets. I thought for sure he was going to be a Kansas City Chief. So that was a big surprise. And then this one was a nice surprise to get done today. So yeah, I've been happy, but it was a little nerve-wracking at first, to say the least.
Brian Bogan comes in with the super chat, says, even with the new offensive line and offensive weapons, let's not forget all we need is average play to win the division. I'm good with being overpowered, though. Yeah, I mean, look, we have the worst quarterback play over the course of the last 3 seasons. If Aaron Rodgers just doesn't zip his, pecker up into his jeans or whatever, we're cooking with fire. We're going to be cruising, baby. Top 15 quarterback play. We're going to be a tough team to beat. Green Bean, what do you think this team is going to look like just from having Aaron Rodgers as quarterback?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is out 6 to 8 weeks. What's the injury? It's a little personal. No, what's the injury? He zipped his pecker up pretty severely, and it's looking rough. That would be very Jetsy. I would see that's actually within the realm of realistic possibility for us. From fucking Achilles after 4 plays, vice presidential candidate zipped his pecker up, because we all know we've all done it.
Yeah, everyone does it once. Every guy does it.
Everybody does. I think once.
The unzip is the one that hurts. It's because it's there. It's like, uh-oh.
Well, usually the age range when we do that is still like, Mom, help me.
Yeah.
So your mom
I did it yesterday.
Oh, Ryan, you gotta get a handle on that, bro.
I get too excited to put pants on in the morning.
It's been a few minutes. Like, I only wear sweatpants. Why? It's a personal thing. Just leave me alone.
Something happened. I'm traumatized.
I can't stop zipping the pecker up. But yeah, you got to get your mom over to kind of help you out. It's not the best. And like you said, it's like, all right, breathe. I'm gonna do it. And it's the unzip that fucking destroys the farm. But yeah, man. Dude, I think there's all that talk about Aaron Rodgers being on the downswing. It's really unfortunate that we didn't get to see him last year, not only for our own success and everything, of course, and not having to go through the whole Zach Wilson debacle again, 3 straight years of the exact same offensive output, but I really want to quell this idea that Aaron Rodgers sucks. He's 40 years old. He's coming off an Achilles, so not optimal, but he is Aaron Rodgers. He's not Zach Wilson. So, but I think that if we were to get the year that he had in Green Bay in 2022, which, if I remember correctly, was approximately 3,700, 27 touchdowns, 12 picks, I would be fine with that. And if we got that for this defense and special teams and all that jazz, I honestly, and then add to it whatever Breece Hall can do on the ground in addition to that, dude, I think we're going to be fine. And I think that's enough to get us into the playoffs and win a couple games and give us at least a puncher's chance to get into the big game. And I'd be fine with that. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be Aaron Rodgers this year. I'm not too concerned.
John comes in with a 20 spot. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, knowing our luck, Ryan just spoke Aaron Rodgers exploding his scrotum into existence.
What?
I'm so
Taylor,
sorry.
Yeah, you're the worst.
We were having such a magical moment with Taylor, ham, egg, and cheese, and now we're talking about exploding Aaron Rodgers' scrotum.
Not scrotum. We were talking about the shaft.
Yeah, pecker. See, Green Bean said that's where the, there goes the farm. He's talking about the chickens, the cock, right?
That's right. Why are you making the assumptions?
Jet Engine comes in and says, I bench more than Max Mitchell. Get Chris Mahogany out of Boston College, right?
Yes. I like Mahogany.
Mahogany. Hector comes in with a super chat, says, I don't care who we draft. Let's just get the season started. For all I care, they can draft one of you and I'll be happy. Well, either one of us could have done more than Cam Clark, so there's that, right? Maybe. That was a health issue, though.
Yeah, can we hope it's either an offensive lineman or a weapon? Maybe
I'm pulling for Green Bean. If I don't know what the odds are of Green Bean getting drafted, it's probably about as high as a Taylor, ham, egg, and cheese locking down the wide receiver 2 in free agency. So I'm not gonna call it 0 chance of happening here.
Dude, if they called me and said, "Hey, look, we know all the realistic aspects.
We need you to teach Aaron Rodgers how to not zip up his pecker. We're gonna draft you in the first round."
Right. We're going to pay you X amount of dollars. Just come in here and show the whole team, the importance of not zipping up the pecker. I'd be like, I would be on a plane.
Latin Lover comes in with a super chat, says, I'm all for trading down and grabbing an offensive tackle, then receiver. But if we're going to have a nasty offensive line, shouldn't we be going for a bruising running back as well? Do you think we bring in, Matt, a running back in the draft or someone via free agency? And, I definitely am of the same opinion as Latin Lover here, not just for the taste in, no, I'm just kidding. But as far as running back, I want to bring in a bruising running back to complement Brees. How do you think the Jets solve running back 2?
I have just the name for you, and it goes against everything that normally I think we believe in, but it makes sense because of what the cost is going to be. Normally, I am not a fan of, if you remember from last year with the whole Dalvin Cook saga, not a fan of the running back who's the former bigger name, who's past his prime, the whole thing. But Ezekiel Elliott kind of fits with what the Jets needs because he is great in short yardage situations, and he's a great pass protector. He is not 2018, 2019 Ezekiel Elliott anymore. No one is paying him to be that, but if you could tell me you can get him on a one-year deal at like $2 million to be your short yardage back and to go in and pass block in obvious passing situations, I think you could do a whole lot worse.
Yeah, of course. I'm on board with that. I wanted him instead of Dalvin Cook last year. That when we were talking about like adding another running back, it's like, oh, that would be kind of cool to see happen. So I would love to see a Dalvin Cook signing as a cheap alternative here. Greedy84 says, want to see the Jets pick Bowers with the 10th pick if available. Side note, Penix will be the most successful quarterback in the draft. So Greedy, I don't disagree. So I would take Jaden Daniels as the first quarterback purely because of the size, the speed, the non-injuries. But Michael Penix is my favorite pro quarterback right now. Like, he seems like he's ready. Like, big games to him, it just felt like he had a handle on it. It didn't seem like it was too big of a moment for him in the college football playoffs. And, I just don't know if we're the team that should be drafting that quarterback so high right now. Now, who knows? I mean, if we wind up imploding and there's not a good quarterback class next year, we might be kicking ourselves for not taking someone like a Michael Penix Jr. So this could be a very interesting conversation at some point. Matt, what are your thoughts on Penix in particular?
There's some things that I really like about his game, and I think there's a world where he can be successful. I don't think he has like the highest ceiling of the bunch, but I think he could come in and be like an okay starter. I do think that, for instance, the top guys at the who are going to end up going first have more variance to their game. So I think one of the four probably hits and becomes a very good player. Who that is between Caleb, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, and LSU quarterback, help me out.
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, thank you. One of those four probably hit and become the best, but I mean, I think there's a world where Penix can be a capable starter in this league. I just don't see him as a star. I think, again, he could be an average kind of Jared Goff level quarterback, but what do I know?
Green Bean, we got your Penix take earlier. What are your thoughts on Bowers at number 10 if available?
Look, as you guys know, I've been even made fun of. Jeremy has made green bean mocks where every pick is a tight end, right? So I love the tight end position. I feel like it's just criminally undervalued in the NFL. That said, taking a top 10 tight end when we have Conklin, Ruckert, Yeboah, and then, Super Raz as the developmental guy, I struggle with the idea. But again, if you're just looking at Bowers as an offensive weapon and not a tight end, right? Like, not like, he's going to be the third or fourth tight end and he's going to kind of be folded in there and utilized as kind of a versatile tool on the offense, and you keep one less wide receiver because of it, I'm totally fine with it, man. Like, let the brilliance of Hackett and Keith Carter really shine, man. Really shine. I don't think we gave them an opportunity to really show us what they had last year. Maybe that's what it was. So maybe if we added a guy like that and you just want to use him, he can play the slot, he can play outside, he can play in line. So you can do all that kind of stuff with him. I wouldn't hate it, man. I think he's an incredibly talented person. Would I do it? Probably not. I would choose an Odunze or a Brian Thomas. I mean, and Neighbors ain't making it, but we'll throw him in there. I'd prefer one of those guys. If we are going to go with the weapon side of things, I would probably prefer that. But I would not be unhappy if the Jets decided to bring in Bowers. Top 10 tight ends, even with everything I said, I still struggle with it.
Blitzkrieg comes in and says, how Jets fans getting a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese for breakfast in the AM to celebrate? Clowny next. Milk thumbs. Close to 1,000 people in here. Boys and girls, hit those milk thumbs. If you're in here for the first time, every 25 likes we get on this video, we're going to get a t-shirt qualifier at the end of this stream that we will be randomly choosing. And then if you want to double your chances, all you got to do is retweet the stream over at Talkin' Jets Show on Twitter, or X, or whatever it's called now. Retweet that over there and you get doubly entered. And we move on. Brian comes in and says, draft a lineman, please. Stop ignoring the same problem every year. What good is having threats if our offense, if our quarterback can't get the ball out when we do this every year? Shake my head. The one thing I'll say about tight end, if the Jets do go that route, at least the tight end gets open really quickly. And that sort of neutralizes a little bit of the offensive line potential woes. Not to mention it gives you another layer of threat. Like you have Conklin, but Bowers is like just a speed demon from the tight end position. So if you have a Garrett, a Bowers, and a Brees behind you, I feel like you've got a home run threat at 3 different parts of the field. But as far as offensive line goes, it's hard not to feel the PTSD that we have of our offensive line over the course of the last few years. Matt, is there someone maybe in round 3 that you would be okay with the Jets taking at some offensive line type position?
Yes. Mahogany was someone who was mentioned before from Jet Engine that I think is a good one. And Haynes, the tackle from, not the tackle, excuse me, the guard from UConn would be another one that jumps out to me.
I would add Cedric Van Pran as well. The center from Georgia is an interesting player. Guard center flexibility. Wouldn't give you the tackle flexibility necessarily, but maybe there's a situation where you like him as a guard, or maybe you like Tippmann as a guard. Either way, you're pushing people around. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Offensive lineman is gonna be a popular topic for sure. Peter comes in with a super chat, says, so now do we add a veteran running back, Zeke maybe, or whom? Also, would you trade a day 3 pick to the Browns for Thompson Robinson as a quarterback 3? I don't know what his contract is. Is it 2 years remaining left on his deal? I think I'd rather just draft. What was that?
He was a rookie last year.
He was a rookie last year. So he's got 3 years left on his deal. I don't know. Maybe. I like the idea of taking our own version of him in this year's draft and having 4 years sitting behind Aaron Rodgers and his only loyalty kind of having been to the Jets and stuff. Not that that necessarily matters, but Green Bean, where do you stand on Zeke as a veteran running back addition? And would you trade for Thompson Robinson, the third quarterback from the Browns, or to be our third quarterback from the Browns?
I wouldn't trade for the quarterback. I think if you're going to do, we're talking about quarterback 3, right? So I would rather just take a young buck and mold them. Again, I'm really happy with Hackett and our offensive staff. I'm really high on them, evidenced by what we saw last year. So I think there's no reason to believe that we can't develop a young quarterback. But we do have Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod Taylor. So I think that, being under their wing could be a good thing. And I just don't see the reason to use draft capital. I would rather, and I mean, if it's a 6th or something like that, maybe. But I do like the idea of adding Ezekiel Elliott for backup running back, because I'm of the thought that we need to bring in a vet and use a draft pick on it. We only have 2 really right now. The other 2 guys are kind of camp fodder. Unless I'm wrong and they surprise. Admittedly, I don't know too much about them, but they just seem like guys, you filter guys through and, they come and go. And that's what it seems like to me. I'd rather have Breece Hall, Izzy Abanikanda, Ezekiel Elliott, and
Carson
Audric
Steele.
Estime, yeah, go. There you go. Carson Steele, somebody like that. I'd much rather go that route than just bringing in one guy and then having these, one of these other fellas holding up. Because we know, I don't ever want to talk about an injury to one of our key players, but the Jets, we see that shit. So I'd rather, when that happens, if somebody's going down for a couple weeks, I would much prefer to have still have a strong stable than going to a guy that nobody's ever heard of. I just, it scares me. We've seen it too many times, and we don't have to do that. Sign Ezekiel Elliott for $2-3 million if he'll go for that, and then grab an Audric Estime in the 4th round with our one of our 2 4th-round picks. I think that would be perfect. In my opinion, that's the way to go. I think you need one from the draft and one from free agency.
Hype says Denver trades for Zach during the draft when QBs fall. So I guess it depends if they decide to pull the trigger on the quarterback at 12. If they don't, then I could see them making a trade for Zach in some capacity because they don't have a 2nd-round pick. So it's going to be tough for them to get a top signal caller in this year's draft. But I don't know. I have a feeling Zach's probably going to end up just getting cut. Uncle Terry says, if Line stays healthy, can Brees go for 2,000 yards? You're damn right. He's absolutely going to go for 2,000 yards. Now, I don't know if it's going to be 2,000 yards on the ground. I would say all-purpose 2,000 yards. But certainly possible, especially behind AVT and Morgan Moses, some of the top run-blocking offensive linemen on that right-hand side of the line. Ace Boogie says, if JD thinks Bowers is all-pro caliber, you take him. I do agree with that. If you think he is all-pro caliber, that is, every tight end that we saw in the final 4 teams left in the NFL, Kittle, Kelsey, Andrews, Laporta, every single one of those tight ends in a redraft would go top 10 in their drafts. No questions asked. If you can evaluate the tight end accurately, which is always the problem, that's always the issue. No one can ever accurately diagnose the tight end position coming out of college. But if they think Bowers could be that level, I think it's a worthwhile pick. Zebo, the Jet fan, says, Dangly Sack or Barry McCockiner in the late rounds. You could do both of them. Just be careful not to zipper it up in your jeans. Rafi comes in with a super chat saying, with our turf situation, you have to assume someone on the O-line is getting hurt. That's why I'd still draft offensive linemen in the 1st round. Wait, I have an idea for you guys. What if we have Tyron Smith play all the turf games, and we have Bakhtiari play all the grass games, and we have 2 top 5 tackles that will split the season totally, and we will have 1 healthy offensive left tackle lump sum together. Matt, what are your thoughts of the offensive lineman and the turf and everything?
Well, good news. Soccer is coming very, very soon to MetLife Stadium. They were tweeting out about some match that's happening. I don't know. I'm not a soccer fan, so I can't tell you what it was. But they are going to be switching to grass for these events, and maybe, just maybe, we could send some Taylor Ham to the grass, and then they'll just want to stay, and then we don't have to go back to turf.
I love it. That's a worthwhile thought. Hey, NYJ, Mike and Matt, let's get both you guys on it. Let's do something to make sure the grass stays over there.
Well, we can't do it, guys, because of the rocks.
There's rocks. That's right. Maybe what if we get The Rock, like Dwayne The Rock Johnson? He goes over there and he just beats up, the fresh grass, kicks out all the other rocks, says, I'm King Rock.
I'm The Rock. You're not The Rock. Get out of here. Maybe. I mean, it seems like we don't know how to sift rocks and shit out of, there's probably some glass in the dirt. I mean, there's all kinds of shit. So it's very, very dangerous. And I support Woody's thought process in that we don't want to add danger with rocks and foreign objects in the dirt. So that's why we're using slick rubber balls instead.
Where it has no give, right? Like you just got to keep it 100% safe. Boba Jet comes in with a 5 spot. Thank you so much. Says Green Bean, Matt, and Ryan. Imagine a good offense. D was 10th in points allowed per game. If the offense cuts off 3 points per game by staying on the field, we are a top 5 defense. We are going to see so many more sacks this year because of us actually having to protect a lead and teams needing to throw on us. You're going to see more turnovers. You're going to see more sacks, and you're going to see a far more electric team, provided everyone stays healthy. Matt, your thoughts on the defense being even better with a competent offense?
that's all we've been talking about, I feel like, for the last 2 years. Like, hey, this defense is great. Could you imagine if the offense was just like, I don't know, not historically bad? Like, the Jets might have a competent – they haven't had a competent offense since 2015. That's a really long time of just bottom tier, bottom of the barrel offenses. Like, it hasn't even happened by accident once. Like, you stumble into a few 30-point games. No, it's I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do with myself to watch the Jets put up like actual NFL numbers. Like, their quarterback might throw 20+ touchdown passes this year. Their quarterback might go like 3,500 yards or more in a season. Like, these very low benchmarks that every single team hits every single year, the Jets might actually have a chance of doing. It's going to be remarkable.
You got Scar City comes in saying, everyone forgets Aaron Rodgers had a broken thumb in 2022. Yeah, everyone's been writing him off. Oh, he had a down year in 2022. Oh, and then he's got the torn Achilles. Oh, he's 40 years old. He's a has-been. He's running for vice president, all this stuff. He's got too much stuff off the field going on. Green Bean, what are your expectations for Rodgers going into the season? Obviously the broken thumb 2 years ago impacted his play. He's coming off the Achilles now. Thought process on maybe what a benchmark would be for what you hope to see this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Scar City brought it up. I got tired of saying it, but it's very, very true. He played through a broken thumb and still had 3,700 yards. We haven't seen 3,700 yards since Namath, and they had fucking perfect thumbs. Every quarterback we had, great thumbs. We're known for good thumbs, and they haven't made it to that. So I fully expect if we could keep him on his feet, I fully expect Aaron Rodgers to meet that and or exceed it. You want to know my secret little fantasy that I don't talk about this much.
Oh man,
you should.
Yeah,
are we? Is this like the time you're allowed to share this now? Because all like kids have gone to bed. Is that like? Isn't there a time on TV that allows? I think it might be 10 o'clock though.
Yeah,
it is 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
but that's
the kids are. Well, here's the thing. Here's the good news.
Cover your ears.
I'm in a completely different building as the kids. So I'll tell you this: it's not going to be as risque as the pecker zip. It's just I want to see. I think, guys, and this is just us. We're all friends in here. There's 900 of us in here. I think Aaron Rodgers can go for 5,000 yards. That's what I think. That's what I think. That'd be something. 5,000, 35 touchdowns, 1 interception.
I need a cigarette. Jeez. Wow.
That was hot.
I don't smoke, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
but yeah, man. I mean, it's like, why not? Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Malik Washington, all the guys we're going to bring in, and a realistic offensive line with this defense. Aaron Rodgers has never played with a defense like this. Think about that. He's never had a defense like this in his entire career. Why not, man? Why not?
I think the highest he was ever ranked. There was one recently, I think, on his MVP run, but he won a Super Bowl the last time he had a top 10 defense, or maybe it was one of the last two times he had. Yeah. So
Never
not a top
3.
5. Yeah. No, this defense is legit. Blitzkrieg comes in, says pecker protection lessons get you Roger Saffold money. Yes. Yep.
I'll take Roger Saffold money, everybody.
I'll take half of that. Yes, sure. Absolutely. I will be the one strapping the cup onto Green Bean to make sure it is secure, to make sure he understands how to not zip it up. 100%.
That's right. I'll pay you half of Robert Saffold's salary just to be there with me, Ryan, so we can do it together.
It's great. Andrew Russell comes in, says, what about trading back for Jackson Powers Johnson? He is a beast. I really like Jackson Powers Johnson. If you could trade down, I actually have, I never pulled up my flow chart. I've got my flow chart here. That's right. Should I pull up the flow chart?
This broke my brain the first time I saw it and tried to follow along. I was like, I'm too stupid for this.
Good, you're good. I'm not alone, Matt. I gave it like a good 2-3 minutes, and I said, "This is for the other people. This isn't for me. I can't do it. I can't figure it out. There's arrows, and I mean, everybody loves it. I think it's definitely, of high quality. I can't. I'm too dumb.
You got to make a smooth brain version for Green Bean and I.
Right. I need I need bullet points and shit, straight line. That's how I roll.
So it's not too hard to follow. We can actually chop off the top because Jets did sign wide receiver 2. And then you go down to, can the Jets trade down? Yes or no? And that's where it starts. Now, I do have Bowers a lot higher on here. I have Odunze first, then I have Bowers as like my top 2 options because I do want to go weapon at the top of this draft. But I do have, after that, it's Fontenot and Jackson Powers-Johnson, and then you can see how these kind of filter down from there. I'll leave this up as we kind of
where you lose me. Let me tell you where you lose me.
All right.
In addition to the very beginning, but I can follow, and then you see that little no under is Bowers available, and then the arrow to Bowers available. I can't get past that. I can't do it. There's no
so
shot.
I probably no. That's fair.
Me.
No. But I understand the confusion. So basically, the pipes or the lines would have intersected from the Bowers on the right hand side of this chart. So if Bowers is not available, then that shifts what I would do over to the trade down side, and it follows the Fontenot, Johnson, Powers Johnson, Brian Thomas Jr. line. Now, I probably should have had a dot without the double-sided arrow. It probably should have been dot on the right-hand side moving over to the no on the left-hand side. That would have cleared up some of the confusion.
Yeah, Green Bean and I think the same way. That dotted line area is where it gets me. And it is no disrespect to the amazing work that is put in here because it is very, very well thought out. And I agree with the logic of it. I just can't read.
Yeah.
Dude, I was so pumped up on Tyron Smith. I was like, actually, I did a video for this, and I had like the intro. I didn't have a powdery substance, but I did a mock like me blowing a line and just being jazzed, and it was like for like the first half a second of the video, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do this to start the video. People are gonna think I'm nuts, but yeah, that was lots of brain cells exploded trying to figure this out. The worst part about this is if you screw up and you have to move all the boxes around and you got to put everything in different spots and align things differently. Like originally I had, can the Jets trade down as the top option instead of did the Jets sign wide receiver 2? And you'd be surprised how much that jacks up the entirety of like the chart. It drove me bonkers. But I do like Jackson Powers-Johnson. And if we were to trade down and get him, I think that could provide just as much flexibility on the inside because we have not, I think we all penciled in AVT as guard, especially with Moses and Tyron Smith being here. But Morgan Moses is only on $5.5 million contract. That could be backup money for all we, could have potentially. If you bring in a Jackson Powers-Johnson, not only does that push both guard positions like John Simpson and, AVT, giving him, a little bit of, backup support in the event the Achilles isn't 100%. It also pushes Tippmann. So like it pushes 3 different positions and potentially one of the ones maybe out of guard and into a tackle situation with AVT. So I do like Jackson Powers-Johnson. He's just a little bit further down on my list as first round options go. Adam Schwint says Bowers or trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr. It depends what the trade up is. Green Bean, you look like you had something to say though.
Yeah, I was just going to say that
I'll bring back up the last one.
Well, yeah, JPJ is arguably the best offensive lineman in the entire draft, right? And we've been more focused on tackles, so a lot of Jets fans kind of aren't there yet. But he really is. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. If we traded back, you could justify doing that. But here's the problem I have with it. Our interior offensive line, in my opinion, is more set than the outside. So, we have Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith as 1-year contracts. AVT is going to be retained. You know, I think we do the 5th-year option with him probably, or extend. Titman's here for a while. Simpson's on a 2-year deal, if I remember correctly. So I mean, like, we're more so like, that's when you talk about using your first round pick in an all-in year for a guy who's not going to play. When we talk about the tackles, it makes even less sense right now. I love the player, but it makes even less sense with JPJ than it does to take one of the tackles, especially if it's a Fontenot, because he can play inside. You take him, he's a tackle, and in a pinch, you need somebody to go inside. He can do that. So it just makes more sense. There's lots of players that we love, but you got to really think about the correct way to build the team. I'm not so sure JPJ is in the cards with the free agent period that we've had. Again, if we slid back to 17, 18, whatever, that range, and we got the second, maybe it makes sense, but I don't see it, man. I just don't. And it's not because I don't like him. I just think that it, when we're building this team, it doesn't really fit. Sad to say.
Adam Schwint says Bowers or trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr. Matt, forget the 2nd round pick in 2025 trade up. Whatever you think it would cost to get up to number 5 or to get up to get Marvin Harrison Jr., whatever that is versus taking Bowers at 10, do you have a preference?
Man, I think this might be nuts, but I think I'd rather do the trade up. And I know you'd have to do a lot to get up there, but I think Marvin Harrison is that good. And it's not a knock against Brock Bowers, who I also like. I just think he would be absolutely deadly with Aaron Rodgers over the next couple of years on a cheap contract, and especially before Garrett Wilson has to get paid too. Like, man, that would be a lot of fun. I think I would take that risk and go for it with Marvin.
Yeah, and I think the contract at some point would, and it's not even necessarily the contract that Bowers or that Marvin Harrison Jr. would have currently, because obviously our all-in window is, we're not worried about, giving them a second contract for this particular window. But if Marvin Harrison Jr. is that wide receiver too, and that fulfills, what is Mike Williams at $15 million or potentially more if you were looking at like a Calvin Ridley or something along those lines, I think the value of receiver is just so much greater than that of tight end, particularly on those 5-year contracts, that I could get with that. Now, if you had to trade, let's say the 2025 first, I'm probably out and I'll just say, thank you, I'll take Bowers. But I would be interested in hearing about Marvin Harrison Jr. for sure. James comes in with a super chat. James says, trade back to acquire a second, either land Brian Thomas Jr. and Patrick Paul or Troy Fontenot and Ladd McConkey. Both scenarios give us a top 10 wide receiver room. I would love that. I'm a big Brian Thomas Jr. fan. I like Fontenot too, so either one of those in the first round. And Patrick Paul, high upside dude from, I believe it's Houston, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Obviously a nice swing there in the second round. And Ladd McConkey has been blowing up the Senior Bowl, the Combine, his pro day. Yeah. He's rising up draft boards. I think it depends on where you land in that second round. Lots of guys in the second round that I like. Xavier Legette, things of that nature. Green Bean, where do you stand on this particular type of trade down and these scenarios with Brian Thomas Jr. and Patrick Paul, or Fontenot and McConkey?
Look, that's the kind of thing. I mean, I've been talking about Ladd McConkey for a while. He was one of the first guys I looked at, you know what I mean, that I really kind of dug into. I really like him. And I think that, bringing his type of skill set in here, while maybe a little bit less, it's a little bit less spectacular than some of the other wide receivers that we're talking about. Especially when you bring in Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, Johnson, Brian Johnson. Yeah. Brian Thomas. But I really like Ladd McConkey. So if we were to slide down, recoup a second and come away with Ladd McConkey, and then, then going into the second and third round, you have a pick in each one of them. I'm totally fine with that. I think that would be fantastic. That said, would I prefer that over like 𝐒𝐿�0𝐫𝐚 if he's just there at 10? If we're just, we're going weapon, I don't think I would. I think, you just want to add the best possible player. But I wouldn't be unhappy. It feels to me somewhat like taking Bowers. It's like, would I go that way? Maybe not. But would I be unhappy if they went that? No, I wouldn't be unhappy at all. Now, again, like you look at it like 𝐒𝐿�0𝐫𝐚 at 10 or 𝐿𝐷𝐿𝐾𝐿 and let's just say, I don't know, 𝐀𝐮𝐫𝐚, even Christian Jones at tackle, at in the second round or something, somebody like that. I can't complain. I mean, I might, the scales, I might be happy with that. So these are good names that we're talking about. I think it's kind of preference at that point. But I'd like to have at least one of these guys be able to come in and contribute this year. If it's a tackle, my fear is that they'll end up contributing because of injury. If it's wide receiver, you got spots for wide receivers. Again, we had Randall Cobb, we had Brownlee, Gibson. Those guys can be upgraded. There's no doubt in my mind. At least one or two of them can be upgraded without question. So, if you bring in a wide receiver, they're going to contribute this year, even with Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, and Allen Lazard on the squad. So the wide receiver thing, I think you don't have too much concern about them being able to come in and help the team this year. The offensive line, I understand people's trepidation there, but anyway, I'd be okay with it, I think.
Mr. Downtown comes in and says, Johnny going to get a lot of ice cream this season. Hashtag brain freeze. Hashtag diabetes. Yeah, that's right, Johnny Ice Cream. We want you to just, you're going to have to see a dentist or something. We're going to give you all the cavities in the world. And I love it. I hope that's exactly what happens. Sorry, Mr. Johnny's dad. You're going to have to pay for a bunch of cavities. We're winning a ring, baby. I love it. Brian comes in with a super chat. Brian says, what are your thoughts on the 2022 draft class, and can we extend them all? If not, I think we should go wide receiver in this draft in case we lose Wilson. So I like the idea of going wide receiver early in this draft. Top weapon to pair alongside Garrett Wilson, because we're going to lose Mike Williams anyway. Now, I love that that Rodgers is saying he wants to commit to 2, 3, 4 more years, because I think that's more likely that we don't see Garrett Wilson leave, because he's going to have that elite quarterback. And look, if he's going to get traded somewhere, it's not necessarily going to be with a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers anyway. As far as the 2022 draft class and being able to extend them, I would think the first people you're going to see extended are going to be Garrett and Sauce. I think Brees, maybe you see it after this year. I would love to see them give him like a Band-Aid contract for 3 years. I hate when they let the running back contract go into the franchise tag years. I think you work out some good will with Brees and, maybe save a few bucks by giving him some guaranteed money next year as opposed to waiting on that franchise tag. But I think the Jets can keep all 4 if they wanted to. It's just a matter of how much money they steal from tomorrow to have success today. And right now we haven't done that just yet. Matt, where do you stand on, I guess let's ask the back half of this question. Should we go wide receiver early in this draft to prepare for if we lose Wilson? And let's do this. Of the 4 players that we drafted at the top part of the 2022 draft, which one do you think is most likely to not be on the team?
I think Garrett Wilson's going into his 3rd year, and they have 2 more years of control after that. So I'm not really all that concerned with the first rounders. I think Brees is the only one that, you could either do Brees after year 3, and as you said, give him that 3-year deal, or you do the 4 years, franchise tag him and let him walk, and that's just the unfortunate reality of the running back position. They don't last crazy long. So going through playing the game of just letting him play out the 4 years, doing the franchise tag, and then paying him after that, that's the wrong way to do it with the running back. So I do agree with what you said, that if you're going to give him an extension, you got to do it after year 3 and have it be I don't know, maybe like replace the 4th year and then tack on an additional 2 or 3 years, and then that's probably it for him, or walk him up to the 4th, franchise tag him for the 5th, and then like that's all she wrote after that.
We've got Taylor coming in with Super Chat, says, late to the party. Let's effing go. Garrett Wilson finally has a real receiver number 2. That's right. Mike Williams in the house, baby. Small Health Court Jester says, Talkin' Jets is next level. Not going to find a flow chart like that anywhere else. Respect, impressive. Thank you. That was done all on Canva. Definitely screwed it up a bunch of times. Little bit of a learning curve. No joke. It probably took me about 2 hours to like build out that whole flow chart and not have it like have it make sense. Because after you follow one line all the way down, you have to go to the next line and go all the way down. And there's still like a part in there that I don't particularly love. Let me see if I can go back to it real quick. So the one part that doesn't make sense is if you follow the no line from the top and you say, no, there wasn't a wide receiver available. No, Bowers is not available. No, Fatanu is not available. No, Johnson Powers is not available. Then you don't have a second round pick. And that's the only part I believe that I flubbed up here. But then you would just eliminate Xavier Legette or Cooper Beebe and then kind of work your way down. But flowcharts are hard. You're frozen, Green Bean. Not frozen. You're muted. I still don't have you.
This has got to be a bit.
It's got to be a bit. All right, we're going to eject Green Bean.
Oh,
Green Bean, you're ejected. Come back. Baby, come back.
Get him out of here.
Let's see. Oh, I like that. That was good timing. What do we got, Green Bean? I still don't have Green Bean. I don't hear you at all. Let me see if I can switch to a different screen. I think you're so full of baloney right now. You got cold cuts coming out your ears.
Well, no, my fault.
What a...
I hit the button. Sorry. I'm like, you're full of shit. You hear me. You guys are busting my chops. I was gonna say it took Ryan 2 hours, Matt. He's like, that thing took me 2 hours, man. That's crazy. That would have taken me 2 weeks. And I would still at the end of it go, I don't know what I'd put down here. I don't know what to say.
Dude, I felt like Charlie from Always Sunny with the lines on the cork board going around. I was like, listen, this is how it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Felt good though.
It's incredible.
It was nice to put the thought. It's funny because like that's how my mind works with a lot of stuff, because it's like, okay, in a vacuum, I would have said I don't necessarily want Mike Williams as, our top option. But then if you start filtering down and say, okay, well, Higgins isn't here and, Ridley's unavailable and Mike Evans went back to his team and Michael Pittman went back to his team, then you start filtering down. You're like, oh, really, this does make sense. And, it's right here. But if you say that from the get-go, then people are like, he's injury prone. You can't do that. And people lose their mind.
Yeah.
Whatever. We've got Jay Taylor coming in with Super Chat. Thank you so much. Says, I would still like to trade down. Take an offensive lineman in the first, snag a wide receiver in round 2 if we get a second round pick, or in round 3. Regardless, it's hard for JD to screw this up with the position we're in now. Yeah, we're in a pretty nice spot. And look, I'm right there with you. Offensive line in the first round in a trade down feels a lot better, and Fought now definitely is the one that I'd keep an eye on. Fuaga too. Latham, those guys that can kick inside, I feel like are all players that you should keep an eye on in a trade down. Wide receiver in the second makes a ton of sense. I would go so far as to say, if we trade down and let's say we get an extra third and we don't get the second, I would use picks that we currently have to get up into the second round to get a receiver. I don't care about the multiple stabs at all these different draft picks later on. I'd rather get the impact player at receiver in the second round now, and then we're still going to have plenty of picks. Like, what are you going to have to give up? 3 picks probably to get up into the second round, a third, a fourth. If you want to give up 2/3, then you get up, probably pretty high and get someone you want. So I would rather do that in the event we trade down. Matt, where would you fall on making a move? Like, let's say we trade down, we don't get a second round pick. Would you rather have like 2/3, or would you like to try and move up a little bit and get another higher, maybe top 70 player?
Yeah, I'm moving up. I don't think you need to sit there and draft 8 guys with like 5 of them being in rounds 4 and beyond. Like, I don't know how much that is helping you in your win now window. Like, that's why I praised the Morgan Moses trade so much is because I think, now is the time to use that day 3 capital on guys who could help you immediately. And while, draft picks, they're not guaranteed to help you immediately, I think you have a better shot of hitting on it the higher up you are. So if you were to move back and get a third and something else, let's say, then I'm calling people up trying to figure out how I'm going to, move up to get into the second round and so on.
Boys and girls, if you are just hopping in here, make sure you hit that like button. For every 25 likes we get on this video, we are going to pick a t-shirt qualifier, jersey giveaway qualifier that we're going to do at the end of the stream in just 20 minutes time. So all you have to do is hang around in the chat with us and you could be picked as a qualifier. If you want to double your chances, all you got to do is head over to Twitter and retweet this stream that's being pushed out over there. Talkin' Jets Show is the handle. Head over there, retweet that, and we'll start adding you to our qualifier list. Green Bean, I want to hear from you. If we can't get a second round pick in a trade down, or let's say we don't even have, we're unable to trade down, what is your plan? Do you stay in the third round, or do you try to package some picks or maybe some combination of future picks and current picks to go up into the second round, or are you comfortable staying where we're at?
I would be okay with going up into the second round, but it can't be more expensive than the second, fourth, in my opinion. Like, you don't want to lose too much of that capital, because then don't forget, like, you have, let's say, it's in the 50s range, 55, let's just say. You got from 55 to 111 for the next pick. Like, no matter how you slice this, we have a huge gap unless we just recoup the second by the trade back. So right now we have pick 10 to 72, so that's a 62 pick gap. If you get back into the second using your third and let's just say 111, then you got from 55 all the way to 135, I think it is. So it's, no matter how you slice it, you have a huge gap. Obviously, the second round, you're going to have, more players on the board, of course. So if you really like someone, you think that they can contribute this year, then it's worth it. But I would probably say, unless there's somebody I feel like, holy cow, that I can't believe that they dropped, I'm okay with just staying in the third and having my 2 fourths and having my 2 sixths and my 2 sevenths and just kind of going that way. But like, if a Ricky Pearsall is there and it's only a fourth to move up and, from the third and get him, I definitely entertain that for sure.
Would you be open to moving a 2025 pick? Like, let's say it's the third plus 2025 second to come up and go get like your choice of second round player.
Yeah. And I think we figure out next year. This is a very, very strong and deep draft in what the Jets need, particularly wide receiver, offensive line. So I think we can do a lot this year. And then not for nothing, when you bring these guys in, even the non-contributors, they're on the team for a year. So next year, if they're going to be folded in, you got a year in the program. So that's that old pipeline thing that we talk about, development. So I'd be fine with using next, as long as it's not next year's first. I don't want to see next year's first used. If we use the second, we use a third next year, I'm fine with that, man. I think, why not? Teams do it all the time. We've been of the mindset of late of recouping, up, whether, obviously the Sam Darnold trade, the Jamal Adams trade and such. We've been gaining picks, so we're used to that. But if we went, kind of that all-in mentality and we used next year's second to get an additional third, package the third and fourth to trade up, I'm totally fine with that. That would give us a first, a second, a third, a fourth. We don't have a fifth, but then we used a sixth on Morgan Moses, so 1 sixth and 2 sevenths. I'd be fine with that. I have no problem using some of next year's draft capital to come up and shore up this team. Where usually I'm not a fan of it. This year I'm a little bit more. I'm warmer to the idea.
We've got Dom C. Project Prospect says, a great day to be a Jets fan. We can all sleep better tonight, finally knowing one thing if nothing more, it's Taylor ham, not pork roll, bitches. That's right, Dom C. Joe blew it. Suck it. All you pork roll people out there. It's Taylor ham. Yo, it's Vin. Says, can't wait for the new jerseys. Whose jersey are you guys going to buy first with the new look? I'm thinking Sauce or Brees. We said this a little bit earlier. I'm going to go with the JJ green. Matt's going to go with the Garrett Wilson 5 green. Green Bean's going to go with the green Brees Hall because he's an animal and doesn't know how to eat ketchup sandwiches or whatever the hell he does over there. Barbecue sauce. Yeah. I don't know. Messy.
Well, let's do our second. Let's say for whatever reason, the first your Jermaine Johnson isn't there, you'd get a Sauce. If Brees Hall is sold out and I can't get it, I think I get a Zach Kuntz.
Ooh, Matt, what about you? What would be your second choice of jersey?
Oh man, that is very, very complicated. Maybe Sauce Gardner. It could maybe Sauce Gardner would be mine then.
Yeah, I wouldn't really get a Zach Kuntz, by the way. but I would entertain a DJ Reed. If we extend DJ Reed, like a legitimate extension, like 3 years, I might get a DJ Reed. I think that guy is way undervalued, super stud, and I love him. So I might do that.
Those are both really good. The two that I would be kind of thinking of, I wanted to get an Elijah Vera Tucker one. Maybe I would go that route, in green. Sneaky though, I love me some Thomas Morstead. I kind of would go the punter jersey as just a real like wild card type pick. And you know what? I'll tweet it out at Morstead, and he's so active with the fans and everything. I'm sure he'll be excited that someone's wearing his jersey. I wonder how many jerseys he's seen of his own jersey out in the stands. It can't be like that many. And I like me some Morstead. I thought he showed some really cool, like Jet faith or Jet, backing with the whole Mecole Hardman thing. The guy's a weapon, pinning people inside the 5-yard line, 3 safeties off his leg. Very much like that. So Morstead would be my sneaky, maybe I go with I know he's not going to be number 5 because Garrett Wilson's going to be number 5, but maybe I'll do it like a number 5. So as I'm shooting a video or something, it's a Garrett Wilson jersey. But little do you know, it's actually Morstead on the back. That might be a nice little. Do we know what number he's picking yet? He used to be number 6. He's been like a zillion different numbers in his career, is what my understanding is.
I believe he inferred 6 on Twitter. He put out a poll, but it's. I don't know if he actually officially said, "Hey, I'm wearing 6," but it seemed like he inferred that's the direction that he was going.
Okay, I think he wore. He wore 4 or 6 in New Orleans, and I know it was 6. One of those 2 numbers. 6. I could see that. So we'll see. Those are good choices though. Piddlety Poo drops a 10 spot. Says just trade back to the mid-teens unless Rome Odunze, wide receiver from Washington, is there at 10. Troy Fautanu, offensive lineman, teammate, should still be there in the mid-first. So we were talking about this earlier. His offensive line coach from college is the OC with the Seattle Seahawks at pick 16. That would be a spot for me that I think you could see him go at. But then you start talking about, I think his floor may end up being Miami at pick 21, I think is their selection. They just lost Robert Hunt. They have Connor Williams coming off an ACL injury. They need some interior offensive line help. So I could see some guard tackle flexibility be valuable for either of those teams. But yeah, and then if Odunze's there at 10, I'd make that's my selection. I would take Odunze at 10 over any of the tackles at that point. I think he's really something special. Matt, does Odunze do that for you? And I guess I also want to ask you, what do you think the Bears do at 9? Because that's the one pick I can't quite put my finger on.
I have no idea. Wide receiver was a good answer up until they traded for Keenan Allen, right? So
does they only feel similar to us though, in the same respect where we just got Mike Williams, but we are still kind of thinking wide receiver. They just got Keenan Allen. Could they still be thinking wide receiver? I almost feel like a Bowers for them might be a nice the same way we're kind of thinking.
Yeah, that's entirely possible as well. It is. You could go that route. They only have 4 draft selections. And they're all in the first 4 rounds. They have 2 firsts, a 3rd, and a 4th, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't. Someone brought that up on my live stream earlier today, and I was like, really? And then I went and looked, and I was like, okay, yeah, it is. So maybe they trade back and try to get more capital with the second one.
That's what I was, if I'm looking at the Broncos and the Raiders, I almost feel like either one of those teams could trade up for a cheaper price to the Bears pick than to the Jets pick in a weird sense. And I think knowing that they have less draft picks than I originally thought almost further kind of makes me feel that way. Greenbean, what do you think the Bears do at 10? And would you take 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐬 if he was there at 10 over the tackles?
You mean 9?
What do you think the Bears do at? Oh yeah, what do you think the Bears do at 9? And would you take 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐬 at 10 if he was there?
I would take. I mean, not 100%. I mean, I'm still of the mindset of a tackle. I mean, I apologize to everybody, but I really am. 2 one-year contracts, both with potential injury concerns. I would just love to have a high quality tackle that's the heir apparent and future starter, stepping in as opposed to a Max Mitchell, or even Carter Warren, who I do like. I don't know. You know what I mean? So but would I consider taking 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐬? Absolutely. What are the Bears going to do at 9? Well, they're going to take a quarterback at 1. So they're going to do something to help him. I would not be surprised to see them take a wide receiver, tackle, or Bowers. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go any one of those directions. But I think likely we would see them take a wide receiver.
Andrew Yale says Greenbean and 𝐷𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐬 showed us last night O-line round 1, or I don't know if I'm following exactly what he's saying. Greenbean, could you help me with this one?
Wait, hold on.
Andrew Yale says Greenbean and 𝐷𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐬 showed us last night O-line round 1 or question mark.
Well, what we did was we ended up taking 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐬 at 10, right? We couldn't, the trade offers were kind of bunk. And so we stayed there and we took 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐬. And one of the exercises, because the 10 o'clock mock is not so much about the perfect mock. It's like it's exploring different themes and scenarios and what would it look like. And what that did, because we didn't gain a second, so we had 10 and 72. And what that did to the offensive line group, and we ended up getting, I think it was Mahogany at 72. So not a bad pick by any means. But it's like it changed the whole dynamic of the draft. And it's funny because there's a large contingent of Jets fans that are like, go with 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞𝐬 or another wide receiver there. But then even those folks that were all excited, once we get to the 3rd round, everybody's like, this draft sucks. And it's like, well, that's what's likely to happen. Of course, it's a sim, so, we don't know if the board's going to drop anywhere near what the sim is saying, of course. But it's like it changes everything. And I was talking about it last night. It's very similar to what we were looking at in 2020. Like, we were split down the middle, the tackle group and the wide receiver group with CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy, Ruggs, Jefferson, those types of guys were there for wide receiver. And then you had the top 4 tackles, right, of which we got one in Becton. So even though Becton didn't work out, I was securely on the take a tackle side of things. Not that I didn't like the wide receivers, but when I would do these mocks, when you took a tackle, the wide receivers that were there for us in the second, the �shenaults, the Mims, the Jeffersons, those kinds of guys, it was significantly more hopeful than when you took a wide receiver and then looked at the tackles that were there for you in the second. It looks like the tackle class is going to, or to the tackle position is going to drop off more significantly than the wide receivers. I firmly believe that in the 3rd round, you're still going to see wide receivers on the board that can come right in and contribute from the wide receiver 4 position. Of course, you're not going to be depending on a wide receiver 4, but to have that impact be able to, have significant and meaningful reps, where the tackles, in the event, God forbid, and I'll knock on all my woods, God forbid a Tyron Smith. I have 3 woods. It's very important to have 3. That's my new thing. I can't, knocking on anything less than 3 different kinds of wood no longer counts for me. I don't know. I'm drunk in the brain without alcohol, but that's what I do now. So 3 woods. God forbid a Tyron Smith goes down week 2. And then you have a 3rd round tackle coming in as opposed to a Fashanu or Latham, obviously Latham, switching, you don't necessarily want to count on that. But so a Fashanu, let's just say, I would feel much better with a Fashanu coming in and having a Malik Washington in the 3rd round than having an Odunze and then a Patrick Paul. You know what I mean? Coming in. That's just kind of, and that's what this exercise last night showed us. It was stark. And then everybody's grades on it, even though they wanted it, it was all C, D plus, F, we got a couple of B's. Then we got 1A, 1. Where the week before when we went tackle, wide receiver, it was like A plus, B plus. And it's interesting to see, even though we want this up top, you got to remember what it does to the rest of the draft and how much we can use the following rounds to still, impact the 2024 Jets. It's interesting to see. So that's kind of what happened there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you either. The offensive line class definitely takes a drop off from okay, this guy's starting to this guy's a little bit more developmental. And I think a lot of how the Jets decide to handle round 1 may come down to how they feel about Carter Warren and where his development might be right now. Because if they are much higher on him than fans are led to believe right now, then I don't know if they go offensive lineman in the 1st round. But we'll see. We'll know in just over a month's time here.
Well,
Mike E comes
Long Island in Farmingdale on the 25th at the Talkin Jets draft party. That's where we're going to know. Yeah.
You're damn right. Bam. Tickets for the Talkin Jets draft party. TalkinJets.com. Head over there. Get them while they're hot. You get to meet myself, Matt, Green Bean, Jeremy, a.k.a. Egghead, a.k.a. I don't have any other nicknames for him. Jets Chaos.
Brooklyn Brothers Food Review, 49ers
this week. I don't know if I should tell this on the podcast, but he told me a secret about.
Tell us.
So he said that if the Jets draft a defensive player, he volunteers to be tarred and feathered.
Oh man, there's a little bit of me that wants to see a cornerback taken at 10.
And that was totally me just making that up to throw Jeremy under the bus. But
I think we do it anyway.
We do it.
Yeah,
let's
absolutely
do it. Jeremy will do it. I mean, dude, you see him assault Liev Schreiber the other day?
I saw that. It was almost as cute as his borderline inappropriate conduct towards Ulbrich.
Yeah, he's like, I love you. Well, he stepped it up a little bit. Liev Schreiber, he's like, dude, what do you think about the player we added? Liev Schreiber's like, I don't know.
I'm just a voice.
I'm just a fucking voice. I read a script. I don't know.
Oh,
but
God.
The best. Jeremy, he's fearless, man. He steamrolls. He gets it. He gets into close proximity to people. So I think he would be willing to be tar and feathered, and I'm here for it, guys. I'm here for it.
Hennessy comes and says, who was the idiot that said JD wouldn't spend big? I don't know. I feel like everyone pretty much said JD and Salah would be on their hot seat, and they were probably more likely to spend big. It just took a little bit longer than we were kind of expecting. AABBATO3 Abbott says, boys, we have signed a high-risk, high-reward free agent. We should hedge our bets and take a tackle and a wide receiver with the first 2 picks. It's proper team building. Abbott, we are on the same wavelength as you. Blitz Crew says, Mike Williams got another Taylor ham, egg, and cheese at the Nets game. Interesting. That's just, we're going to he's got to have a sponsorship deal with Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. And I would hope that, NYJ Matt gets free Taylor ham, egg, and cheeses from this arrangement. I would think.
Yeah. I tried to, I reached out to them 2 years ago, the Taylor Ham egg people, not the egg, but just the Taylor Ham people, to try to get a sponsorship for they were just like, what are you talking about?
So you're going to eat my ham regardless. Why do we want to sponsor
you? Already love it. What do we need from you?
Sam comes in with a super chat, says, barring neighbors falling, we need to pick offensive line. 𝐿'Dunze is overrated. A lot of great route runners in the lower rounds. I don't know. 𝐿'Dunze, number 1 in contested catches. I like that Garrett Wilson liked his, Instagram post of declaring for the NFL draft. To some degree, that tells me that Garrett Wilson sees this guy as a legitimate weapon worthy of a Jets pick at number 10 as well. And I think real recognizes real. So I'm on the 𝐿'Dunze train. I like the contested catch rate. I like the frame. I would be pumped with neighbors. I don't think he's getting past the Giants, but there's also, I guess, the weird situation of like receiver going 4, 5, 6, and then you start getting into a weird quarterback situation where like, do the Titans trade out? Do the Falcons trade out? Do the Bears trade out? And then do the Jets trade out? I think any one of those teams could, if McCarthy falls that far. But I think 𝐿'Dunze is going to be there for the Jets. I have a gut feeling. And I wouldn't be upset with that pick. Matt, could you please head over to last week's stream, see if we have any timestamp comments. Green Bean, you got your list pulled up over there?
Oh, dude, I totally have my list pulled up.
All right, cool. This is Los, says, meet Matt in Canton. Looking forward to the draft. So I guess he met you out at the Hall of Fame game.
Who is
this? This is Los.
Yes.
So we hope you're coming to the draft party as well.
There we go. I recognize him from his picture there.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm going to head over to the Twitter stream. So, Matt, if you want to read off some names that timestamped it from last week.
Sure. Green Bean, tell
other
me
ones.
when you are ready.
Hold on. Okay, I'm ready for you. Let's do it.
Pure imagination.
Your imagination.
Ethan G.
Okay.
Curly Norman.
All right. The old curlster.
Hulk Smash Your Mom.
All right.
Oh, it's so good.
Ryan's favorite.
Rich
James Falls.
I hope he's all right.
D-Lot 69. Nice.
D-Lot 69. All right.
Kevin Callahan. The Gag. Greg Gagne.
Oh, okay. Greg. I wrote the Gag.
I'm playing into your bit. I thought you knew what that was.
Yeah. I should. You're right. I should.
Two more. Andrew 𝐿'Zranka.
Good man.
And Eric
Andrew 𝐿'Zranka.
Yeah, it's like 𝐺RZANKA.
Cheese hat.
And then Eric Craig is the last one.
Hey, no battery, where is he? Battery Bros. What's his name here? Hold Battery Bros.
Battery Bros podcast.
He didn't check in. He said he did.
Oh.
Hang on, let me refresh.
I'm gonna add him. I'm gonna add Battery Bros.
Let me see.
I'll give you a few. I'll give you a few from the Twitter side of things as well.
Oh, that's probably where he is. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So you ready? Jim Green.
Jim Green. All right.
Aaron Daniels.
Okay.
Stud City.
Stud City. Take me down to the Stud City. All right.
Ryan Zuppardi. ZUPPARDI. It's Colin, but we're going to say bearded VT-ear, because that's what we know him as. J-Man Hop.
Okay.
Alan Force, Forse.
Okay.
Anthony Cook.
All right.
Maggie Jones.
Maggie Jones. Maggie Jones. Be careful with Maggie Jones, everybody.
Alvarez, but the E at the end is a 3. So it's R3Z for Alvarez. ALVAR 3Z.
Oh, 3Z. All right. I don't know what the fuck that is. Okay, go on.
Peter Sclafani. Peter Schifani. SCHIFANI.
Okay.
And Gary B.
And Battery Bros is in there. Don't worry about it, everybody.
All right. So how many people do we have on our list, Green Bean?
1 million.
1 million.
1,000,006. We have 107 tonight.
107, boys and girls. Qualifiers. Love it. I love it. Random number generator says number 26, Green Bean. Who's number 26 on your list?
26 is Brian Bogan, everybody.
Ooh, Brian Bogan. Let's hit the spin wheel. Let's see what he gets.
The Bogan. The Boger.
Bogan.
Who?
Oh, so close.
Oh my God.
It was right there. Brian Bogan's got himself a pillow. Brian, reach out to us on talkinjetshow@gmail.com or jetstalk247@gmail.com. Get your shipping information. Send you out one of these cool green pillows with our lovely monkey faces on them. It is awesome, by the way. But we have reached the end of our show. So let's go around our panel, give our closing thoughts. Mr. Greenbean, any last words for our panel?
Yeah, man. Good stuff, everybody. We're having some fun. Green Beans Jets Pod episode 153 is out right now. But equally, if not more important, tomorrow night, right here on Talkin' Jets, 𝐀𝐮 and I will be cutting it up on the Armchair GM show. Excited about that. I hope you all will join us. 8 p.m.
Matt, any last words for our panel?
I love doing this every single week with you guys. What a banner day for Jets Twitter and Jets fans today. Just an all-timer. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for daily Jets content. Egghead and I will be getting after it on Thursday. Surprisingly, he hasn't texted me any topic ideas 52 times this week yet. So maybe that's going to be tomorrow's plan.
I can't wait. The group chat is fired up between the 6 of us in there. Is a lot of fun. If you guys haven't followed along to some of our other shows, I'm on Mondays with Dom C. We talk a little bit Jets draft. We got our Talkin' Jets panel here tonight on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, Green Bean Armchair GM with 𝐀𝐮. Matt and Egghead over on Thursday afternoons, little afternoon delight with the reality check. Boys and girls, I did not do a call-in show on Monday, so we're going to be doing the call-in show at 10:30 right after this stream. If you guys want to give your thoughts about Mike Williams and that sort of stuff, I guess it worked out all right to miss a call-in show this week. But boys and girls, that's going to be it for us tonight. We will talk to you guys next week, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Don't forget to get your tickets to the Talkin' Jets draft party. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.
Just go somewhere else. I can't take this nonsense anymore. How are you going to blame the defense?
I got the power. Screw Green Bean. Damn it.
But once you get to the sausage, I feel like we're doing something.
Go Jets.
And that's the other part of it is that people are insanely jealous of this show. This show gets the best of the best, and it does a different way, with positivity.
He scores!
Ow, my head! No, come on.
What would you give up to see a Jets Super Bowl?
All of my friends and family. Hit those milk thumbs, boys and girls.
Freeze run.
Hold on to your underwear, ladies, and stand by, bitches. It's now time for Talkin' Jets with your hosts, Matt, Ryan, and Green Bean.